Well, we're cranking up to do a show on Facebook and YouTube and Dr. Bill, RadioMD.com. And where else are we on? I think we're on Twitch or Twitter or something that begins with a T. Probably don't have anybody that looks at it on that site, but we're there. So hang in. We got a good show this morning. Talk about a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Monkeypox virus. Brr.
Because no matter what, no matter where, you need the truth. And specifically, if you're listening from Newport Richey to St. Petersburg or from Tampa to the coast, you can get the answer on FM 93.7. Always on AM 860, online at theanswertampa.com. And depending on where you are, on FM 93.7.
Do one thing this year that changes you forever. Something extraordinary. A bucket list experience with years of memories packed into 10 invigorating days. Join Dr. Sebastian Gorka and Dinesh D'Souza in Israel this November. We'll visit over 40 iconic places, right from scripture and history. Reserve your spot today when you visit standwithisraeltour.com. standwithisraeltour.com or call 855-565-5519.
The following program is sponsored by Bay Area Medical Can Care Clinic. Odyssey.
Here is your exclusive AccuWeather forecast.
Today, humid with clouds and sun. A spotty thunderstorm this afternoon, high 92. A spotty thunderstorm tonight, otherwise partly cloudy and humid, low 76. Tomorrow, sun with areas of high clouds in the morning, then mostly cloudy in the afternoon with a spotty shower, high 92. Plan with confidence. Download the redesigned AccuWeather app today. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Cheryl Golden for AM 860, The Answer.
And I'm on. This is Dr. Bill. Boy, Ken, you didn't play much of that, did you?
Well, let me bring it back for you. There we go.
There we go. That's an honor.
I like it. It's very oriental.
Yeah, it's Japanese, and it's in honor of the president who has fled the country in the pollsters and is making the tour of Asia. He's in Northeast Asia now. He's just finished up in South Korea, I guess. Met with the new President Yoon. And by the way, President Yoon in South Korea, I think he's only been in office 10 days, and Joe Biden's already over there pressing palm, and they're talking about restarting the joint military exercises and reactivating the extended deterrence system, strategic system, and deployment of U.S. strategic assets back in the peninsula. Of course, that's not new. We talked about that a few weeks ago. And guess where they went first, though, Ken?
Where'd they go?
They went to Samsung's factory, their chip factory. So the big deal here is that we want more chips. We want the supply chain fixed, and we don't want to have to depend on Taiwan or China. Really, Taiwan is the big chip maker. But if China gets a hold of them, then we're back in the same situation we are with the prescription medications, where we're getting 80 to 90% of our prescription drugs from China. That's not a good thing.
I didn't know that.
Yep, that's a fact, Jack.
That high.
That high.
That is dangerous.
You have to remember now that the overwhelming majority of medications that are being prescribed are now generic. So they're cheap, relatively. And since they're so cheap and you don't have much of a profit margin, you farm it out to cheaper labor markets. So, but we need to bring that back home. We really do.
The chips, too. We need to bring the chips back home, too.
Well, we make the high-end chips, but the industrial chips, like for cars and different industrial applications, those are mass-produced in Taiwan and in South Korea, and they're cheaper, or at least they were. I don't know how. South Korea is such a hot economy now that nothing's cheap there, but they do seem to be able to crank out the products. Oh my gosh, I bought that Hyundai Ioniq 5. I told you about that, didn't I?
Yes, yeah.
That's
an electric car.
An electric car, and that's right out of, well, I mean, that's probably made here in part, but South Korea. That's Hyundai and Kia. I think they're together now. So it's an interesting phenomenon. And by the way, it's unusual for a president to visit South Korea before Japan when they're on a trip. So the Japanese are probably going to be a little miffed about that, but they'll get over it. The Japanese want to pull closer to South Korea because of the threat of China. And so they probably smoothed the way by saying, look, let's try to get get the South Koreans and the Japanese together and tell the Japanese, look, we'll go to South Korea first, make it look like we think they're more important than you, although we know you're more important. We really love you the best. So Joe's over there two-timing them. And at any rate, so some of this information I actually got from the Global Times, which is the official Chinese Communist Party English newspaper. And, of course, they're calling it a scheme to corner China and put them in a box. Well, yeah, I guess pretty much that's true.
Congratulations, you figured it out.
You got it. So we're working on that, and Sleepy Joe woke up and he actually read some teleprompter stuff and gave a few speeches, and he didn't sound too bad. But what are you going to do? At any rate.
And now the Philippines is the new president-elect there is talking about throwing in with China.
I think he's just fishing for some handouts. The Filipinos, they're notorious for that. All the Filipino nurses at the hospital. One of them just would not leave me alone. She bugged me for years to donate to this and that, and basically they were her businesses that she was starting. But she was a good gal and a hard worker. I haven't seen her in a long time.
I guess the son of Marcos has been elected president there. So.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's probably a strong socialist movement in the Philippines because of the poverty, although they should be coming out of that now and doing fairly well. But they've also wanted to pull back closer to us, so who knows? Another two-timer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So at any rate, you asked me about the monkeypox virus.
Yes, what's going on with the monkeypox? I keep hearing about monkeypox. Is this another disease we need to be worried about, or is it just something that comes around once in a while?
This seems to be in the gay male community, and it's spread by contact, so we can imagine what kind of contact that is. And it seems to be in healthy people a self-limited virus. It is a pox virus, so you break out in little bumps, and it's related to camel pox and smallpox and cowpox and variola and all the other poxes. So it's something of concern, but more for the gay community than for the rest of us. So, and then you have people who are immunocompromised in the gay community, and then it can become a more serious disease. But I think we've got a couple of cases in Florida. It was initially in the Western world discovered in people coming back from Africa, and then it was spread around Western Europe and Great Britain, and I don't know where all it is now. I think you told me you saw that we have 2 cases here in the state.
Yeah.
Before the show.
So I think in the country. I think it's just the country.
In the United States. Okay, so it's not a big deal at this point, and I'm not worried about it. But now we've got the Deltacron variant of the COVID. Did you hear about that?
No, I have not.
Well, it's a cross between the Omicron and the Delta virus, and it's uncertain as to how much effect this is going to have. But one thing that has so far shown to be true is that it's much less sensitive to the antibodies, both the antibodies produced by taking your RNA vaccine and by having had the virus itself and making your own antibodies. So. But the good news is, Ken, that you can go from 44% less effective from natural immunity from having the virus or from 2 shots to down to 15% less effectiveness if you get a booster. So keep those boosters up. That's important. And by the way, we have them at the office, so you can call and come in and get a booster anytime you want. You don't need an office appointment for that, and you don't need to see me. We're at 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. But it looks like this is the strain of concern at this point in time. I'm not too worried about it. We haven't seen it ravaging the population yet, but you never know. I mean, this is a fickle virus.
Give the address of the office there, so folks are driving by, since you don't really need an appointment, they can just stop in.
6399 38th Avenue North, St. Petersburg, and that's right near 66th Street North and 38th Avenue North, around the corner of 64th and 38th Avenue North. We're across from St. Pete General, kind of catty corner. So if you know St. Pete General Hospital, and we're about a mile north of the Tyrone Mall. So you go up 66, and when you get to 38th, hang a right, go down a block and make a left, and you got me.
Yeah, I was there last Thursday. I should have got my fourth shot. I didn't think about it when I was there.
Well, this is a good reason for you to come back down and visit me. I miss you.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
We always have fun visits.
Oh, yes, we do. We have a lot of fun at the office. It's a very happy practice, and the patients all love us, and we love them.
And I got to spend some quality time with the missus this time when I was there.
The little Korean, oh my God. So, by the way, that reminds me, the Australians just had their big election, and they booted out the conservatives and they voted in the liberals. You know why? Because the conservative PM kept dissing the women. They got mad, they all turned against him.
Really?
So they've got a new guy in Albanese, or Albanese, and he has a chance, according to the communist newspaper, to mend the fences with China, analysts say. And whether or not he'll do that, because, he joined the Australians joined the Quad, the Great Britain, Australia, United States, and Japan. And then there's the AUKUS, which is Great Britain, Australia, and the United States. And all these intertwining, entangling alliances. And you know who warned us against entangling alliances? Do you know who did?
Who was that?
That was our first president, and that was right out of Alexander Hamilton's pen and brain. In his farewell speech, that's one of the things that Washington cautioned against was avoid entangling alliances with foreign powers. Well, here we go. You know, we're not listening to Daddy.
Now, Australia had a pretty good trade thing going with China for a long time, but it's kind of fallen off recently. So maybe he's trying to just do it for money.
Probably, but apparently the outgoing prime minister got into it with the female editor of the I guess the counterpart of our Washington Post, you know, the paper that was in Canberra, the capital, and a national publication. And so he's picking on her, which, as you know, if you pick on the press, they'll pick back.
Yes, they will.
And, you know, our former President Trump, I guess he learned that lesson in spades. But now, did you see where they have got testimony on record that, yes, Hillary Clinton did know that the Steele dossier was a phony, and, you know, the trial's ongoing, Ken.
And leaked it. I mean, she
Leaked
said,
it.
go ahead and leak that.
She
even though
said
she knew
leak
it was
it.
wrong.
And now Trump is saying, how do I get my reputation back? Can he sue? I don't know.
Not in politics.
Was he? I guess he's a public figure, so there's not much he can do about it.
Yeah, they would throw it. They would throw it out. Yeah.
But speaking of politicking, you know, this movement to picket and parade in front of the Supreme Court justices' homes under 18 U.S. Code 1507, it's illegal, and you can go to prison for that. Whoever with the intent of interfering with, obstructing, or impeding the administration of justice, or with the intent of influencing any judge, juror, witness, or court officer in the discharge of his duties, pickets or parades in or near a building, housing, court, or in and near an office building or a residence occupied by the judges, so on and so forth, using sound devices, sound trucks, demonstrations, all that is illegal. You can be
Are they
fined.
arresting these folks?
No! They're not arresting them. Well, you know, the president and the FBI, the head of the Justice Department, they have prosecutorial discretion. What does that mean? That means that, let's say we've got 2,500 laws on the books in the federal codes, the U.S. codes, okay? Well, they can pick which ones they want to prosecute and which ones they don't. Did you know that?
Yeah, I guess that's not unusual in all levels of government.
That's not unusual. So, at any rate,
But what's the point of having laws if you're not going to enforce them?
well, it sounds good. Makes the folks think you're doing something.
It's like the folks who want more gun laws. We got so many gun laws right now; it's ridiculous. Just nobody enforces them.
No, they're not enforced. Well, they are in Florida. You go to buy a gun in Florida, and you have to fill out all the forms, and then you have to wait 2 weeks because they send everything to the sheriff's department to vet you and make sure that you're not some wacko, or that you're not an ex-con, or that you're not hoarding TNT or whatever. So then you go and you buy the gun. And I've done this a couple of times. I went to Cracker Boys, and I had to fill out all these forms, and then they'd call me in 2 weeks and say, you can come pick up your gun. Now, the way that works is the information is not retained by the police department. It goes back to the gun seller, and he has to maintain that. And it cannot be given out except by a judicial order for discovery. So if a judge says, I think Handelman's the one that shot up all those people in downtown St. Pete, then he can order, he can send an order, you know, a bench order out and say, we're seizing these documents from your gun store. And so then you can get that and you can see whether or not I was a wacko or whether or not there was anything to be concerned about. But you know, if it comes up positive on your investigation from the sheriff's office, then you can't get that gun in Florida. Most people don't know that. And then they talk about these gun shows, Ken, and they say, well, you can go to the gun show and you can get it. I don't think so. You know, these gun dealers will lose their license. I bought a gun from a private guy years ago, and I had to wait for him too. I mean, I went to his house. And he does, or he did at that time, I haven't talked to him in years, he did the gun shows too. and I still had to wait 2 weeks. So there's a lot of laws on the books, and you're right. Some of them are not enforced, and we have to ask ourselves why. But on the other hand, we do have a lot of good laws that are enforced, especially in Florida. You know, Ted Bundy came here because he said he wanted to get caught. He did. He said,
I didn't know that.
yeah, and he said, I knew Florida would catch me, and somebody had to put an end to my murder streak. And then at the end, he didn't want to die. Oh, well. Too bad. We all come and go.
That's right. Exactly. He got what he deserved.
So, our former President Bush was speaking, where was he? He was at making some remarks at some meeting in Dallas, and he said the war in Iraq, which he really meant, I mean, the Ukraine. So he's still thinking about that war in Iraq. I guess he's happy he won it, but not happy that it unseated the Republicans. At any rate, you know, he's a never Trumper too. They don't like each other.
Yeah, I know that. They've had a little spat here and there. So,
but I mean, I don't have anything real negative to say about George Bush. I think he was a little too pandering to the liberals, but you know, all in all, I thought he did a pretty good job. He did the best he could under the circumstances and the times in which he lived, and things have become more and more polarized, as you know. So,
now W did okay.
yep.
So did his dad. His dad should have gotten the second term.
Well, but you know, the Perot was a spoiler.
Yeah, absolutely right. It was Perot that messed with that election.
So
But, you know, look what we got. So, you know.
yeah. So I admitted a guy this week. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I did some electrical work at the office. And we're selling the office building, but we're going to lease back. It's time to let a younger man come in there and keep that place up to snuff. Although I'm going to stay and help out as much as I can. We're going to lease back space and let someone else handle the heavy lifting. But I've got Diane with Prestige Laser Studio. She rents a couple of rooms from me in the office building, and she bought a new laser, Ken, so she wanted another 220 outlet. So yesterday I'm pulling jacketed, you know, metal jacketed cable, and I'm grunting and straining and sweating and moving my step ladder all over, and I get it over to the wall where I'm going to go through to her office, her little room. And there's already a 220 line there that somebody had capped off. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do this for? I could have just, I had it right here. Oh well, what are you going to do?
That's the fun of old buildings. You never know what's in between those walls. You know?
You never know. And you know, you go up there, and this building was built in the early 70s, and you've got these inch in diameter cables that were for the computers back then, because there was no internet, there was no switches, there was no routers or modems or any of that. And so everything had to be direct connected, and it was these big, you know, 25-pin connectors, and so the cabling was running all over up there. And old telephone lines everywhere.
Yeah, from the landline days. I found those in my house, and that was built in '88.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think landline days are over. You have a landline at home?
No, we don't have a landline. But the really cool thing is with our office system, it's a SIP system, so we're on the internet, and we don't use Verizon or any other phone company. We now don't go through any phone company. But you can put an extension of this system anywhere in the world, anywhere. So we can have an extension at home as long as we have internet. And as you know, Beth, our front office person, who we call her the girl in the box because she moved up to Brooksville, and so we set her up remotely, and she's on Zoom at the office, and so you walk in, and she's on a computer screen working away, and she'll greet you and talk to you. You can talk to her. And she takes care of a lot of things, and she does it from, 50 miles away, all over the internet. And she's got her own extension, so I just dial her extension and say, hey, Beth, can you get me a prescription for da 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 da, or can you talk to so and so and get this appointment set up? And it's pretty neat how technologically advanced we are. Of course, the Canadians are all amazed. I'm like, well, you guys got cell phones up there yet? So one of my
things we can do today, really amazing.
Oh, it's just amazing. So one of my patients came in, and he was sick as a dog, and fever and chills, and he said, I've been losing weight for 2 months now. And he apparently went to the emergency room because he had urinary retention, and they put in a Foley catheter. And so I admitted him, thinking, well, he's probably got a urinary tract infection. He may be septic. Sure enough, he's got a urinary tract infection. We didn't grow anything, which is not uncommon in men in the urine, because a lot of times it's a prostate infection, and it doesn't get into the urine from the prostate. So you got acute and chronic prostatitis, and this is a big deal for guys as they get older. So if you're having symptoms, you need to address that. And a lot of times you're relatively asymptomatic, except for the systemic problems of fevers and chills and malaise and loss of appetite. So we tanked him up with some antibiotics for 3 or 4 days, and he was feeling better, sent him home on oral antibiotics. Now, for chronic prostatitis, you have to stay on these antibiotics for 3 months to get rid of it. That's a long time, Ken.
Yeah, you're supposed to be on. I thought the longer you stay on antibiotics, the less effective they become.
Well, that's not exactly true. What happens is the bacteria can develop resistance to it. So what we want to do is hit you hard and hit you with high doses initially to knock down the bacteria, and then continue on with oral medication once you get out of the hospital for an acute infection. And then for chronic infections, we use things like Cipro and Levaquin and doxycycline and Bactrim, Septra. So we have an armamentarium that we use, but I've been on Septra for months and I still can't get rid of mine. But I'm afraid to take some of these other drugs because they cause so many GI problems. And I tried taking the Cipro and the Levaquin in the years past, and I don't know what it did to my brain. My brain's not that good at this point anyway, so I didn't want
further. You're doing okay there, Doc.
I didn't want to further interfere. Oh my gosh, what a nightmare. At any rate, that's a big deal for guys, so keep an eye on that as you get older. And you can have prostatitis even as a younger guy. You can get it from a venereal disease. Usually those are easier to treat, but you never know. You never know. So take care of yourself, fellas. And the prostate cancer, you know how you hear all the time, well, your prostate cancer won't kill you. You'll die before it'll kill you. You'll die of something else. Well, new study out, Ken. It's like 80% of people with metastatic meaning it's out of the barn, it's gone into the bones and other parts of the body. 88% die from their prostate cancer. So this is not a benign thing. And I've had patients say to me, well, my PSA, which is the marker for prostate cancer that we can draw blood and do a test on, is up. And I said, well, you probably got prostate cancer, so let's get you to go see the urologist. Well, I'm not having any symptoms, and I read on the internet that you will outlive your prostate cancer. That's not always true. I would go get that checked out. So
I don't think I've ever checked on the internet for a solution to a medical problem and found out in the end that I was right.
Well, that's a very prescient and wise statement from you, sir, and the public appreciates that. So everybody out there, let's give Ken a hand. Good job, Ken.
It always turns out to be wrong. So, I'll look up medicine and I say, okay, well, that's what I should be taking. And, well, no, you shouldn't, said the doctor. So, Anyway, hey, listen, while we're kind of at a break here, because you're going to head out and get some coffee.
Is it 9:30 already? Oh my God! Where did the day go? Where did the hour go?
Just the first half of the show just flew right by.
It flew right by. Well, but we had fun. That's the
we always
important
do.
thing.
That's why. That's what makes it fly by.
And don't forget the question, guy.
Yeah, I got it right here. We got the question for the day. Every week we give away 2 Dr. Bill, your Radio MD coffee mugs. And all you have to do is answer this question. And it always has to deal with something that we've talked about in the last half hour. So if you've been listening, you know the answer if you've been paying attention. The number to call, by the way, is 877-969-8600. That's 877-969-8600. Today's question, which pox is upon us now here in the U.S. and around the world? There's a new pox out there, an old pox, but it's back. What's the name of the pox that is affecting people, and a very small portion of people right now in the U.S.? So give us a call if you know. First caller wins at 877-969-8600. That's 877-969-8600. And a pox upon you, I guess.
We'll be right back, folks.
Thanks, Doc.
The media accountable. Visit townhall.com today to join the fight. The fight for our nation starts with townhall.com.
In 2008, I wrote The Dumbest Generation. This is Mark Bauerlein. The millennials I wrote about have grown up now with little faith, patriotism, knowledge, art and literature, civics, without purpose and looking to fill the void. They found the answer in utopian dreams of perfect justice and universal happiness that will only disappoint them. My new book, The Dumbest Generation Grows Up, From Stupefied Youth to Dangerous Adults, lays out the wreckage and shows how to rescue the next generation.
Get Mark Bauerlein's timely new book, The Dumbest Generation Grows Up, wherever books are sold.
AM 860, The Answer. Online at theanswertampa.com.
Odyssey.
Here is your exclusive AccuWeather forecast.
Today, humid with clouds and sun. A spotty thunderstorm this afternoon, high 92. A spotty thunderstorm tonight, otherwise partly cloudy and humid, low 76. Tomorrow, sun with areas of high clouds in the morning, and mostly cloudy in the afternoon with a spotty shower, high 92. Plan with confidence. Download the redesigned AccuWeather app today. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Cheryl Golden for AM 860, The Answer.
And I'm back. Are you there, Ken?
I certainly am, Doc.
You hit a button or unhit a button. You turned off my feed, buddy.
Oh, sorry. I thought I turned it back on. I saw your message to me. But
Yeah, it's back on now, but everybody missed all of my Facebook and YouTube followers. They missed the big advertisements that we were pumping out there. Oh well.
Well, my apologies. A pox upon me.
A pox upon you, dude.
We have a winner.
We got a winner. Oh my God. Who we got?
Ray Nichols from St. Pete. Ray Nichols from St. Pete knew that we were discussing the monkeypox earlier in the show, and he's going to get himself two Dr. Bill, your Radio MD mugs, and they are beautiful.
Well, thank you for listening, Ray. We appreciate you, and I'm glad that you won. And if my dementia doesn't kick in, I'll get those out to you as soon as possible.
That's Roy, by the way. Roy Nichols. I think I.
Oh, Roy.
Roy Nichols.
Roy Nichols. My bad. My bad.
My apology too. I think I may have made a mistake there.
Roy Nichols. I had a cousin named Roya. Female. Speaking of Finnish, though, the Finnish Parliament voted overwhelmingly to apply for NATO, and of course the president's all for that, and the Swedes want to get in too. But guess who's holding things up here, Ken?
Who's holding things up now?
Hungary and Turkey. Hungary's upset because they don't want the oil and gas completely cut off from Russia, because that's all they have. That's what they depend upon. And so they want to try to find some middle ground between hurting the Russian economy but not hurting the Hungarian economy, which is, understandable. And then the Turks are upset because, the Kurds, there's a splinter group of Kurds, and they have a terrorist radical group called the PKK, and they want to start their own country, Kurdistan. And they want to take the northern part of Iraq and the eastern part of Turkey and make their own country. And Turkey seems to be really touchy about anybody eating into their territory. So they're saying until Finland and Sweden return these terrorists, these PKK terrorists, they're not going to vote for it. Guess what you have to have a new member allowed into NATO?
It has to be unanimous, doesn't it?
It has to be unanimous, and there's 30 countries in there now. So all 30, including Hungary and Turkey, have to agree.
Can't we just kick Turkey out?
Well, I guess we could, but then they might go with the Russians, and that would go...
They're already cozying up to the Russians.
Not this week.
Not this week.
Not this week, no.
They bought their anti-aircraft system, didn't they? Their missile system? Those
Yeah, but
400 missiles?
Yeah, a bunch of junk.
Now they're coming. They were cheaper, so they went with the.
Yeah, they went with what was cheap. Now they're coming back to the United States and saying, "Hey, these things don't work, and you sell us some junk, some better junk." So I don't know. It's a tough situation when you have all these different interlocking and intertwining, fighting, and pacts and treaties and all this. It's a mess. But that's the nature of the beast, and that's the way it's been forever. It's a lot like pre-World War I. And as you know, I've been saying that I think this is going to lead to a wider conflict in what's going on in Ukraine. Did you see where Mariupol fell?
Yeah, I did.
That is the town in far eastern Ukraine, southeastern Ukraine, on the Sea of Azov, which is a little arm off of the Black Sea, and it's a port. And it's been an important port for millennia. That area has been the connection between the East and Western Europe, or Europe actually. And that's where the plague came from into Europe, was from that little area there. The people were trading with the Muslim and Chinese merchants who had come on the Silk Road and brought goods over into the Black Sea area, and then they were shipped back on Venetian boats, Venetian cargo ships, and that's how the Black Plague got into Europe. We don't hear much about how much damage was done in the Orient by the Black Plague, but we know how much was done in Europe.
Well, it must have been at least as equivalent in the Asian area.
Oh, yeah, and as dense as the population was in countries like China and India, there was a big death toll, especially China. Now, Zelensky, the president of the Ukraine, he says on the Donbass fighting, which is another eastern Ukrainian area, it's held there, and that's no exaggeration. That's what he says. So, at any rate, in Mariupol, I guess the Russians claim they've captured 2,500 Ukrainian soldiers, and Zelensky says 1,600 surrendered. So, and what's going to happen to them? It's not going to be good.
No, it's not. And
It's not
with the Russians.
Yeah, I mean, they're toast. So,
Yeah, they're not known for treating prisoners well.
no. But they have some really nice accommodations for them out in Siberia. So you can get a room cheap. I mean, real cheap. Just do some slave labor, and they'll throw you some breadcrumbs and give you some place to sleep.
And then you freeze to death.
And then you freeze to death. And by the way, the Russian mafia, all of that grew out of the gulags out in Siberia. And a lot of the mobsters were Jews, because I guess Stalin didn't care for the Jews, and they were always causing trouble, as we often do. And so he sent them all out there, and they figured, well, if I'm going to survive, I better do something really extreme, and so they became mobsters, like gang warfare in our prisons.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Same thing all over the world. At any rate, did you see where this Louisiana federal judge blocked the Biden administration from lifting the public health order used to quickly expel migrants? What is it, Title 42, which is old. It goes back to the late 40s, early 50s when this was put into play. Basically, it says that people coming from countries with epidemics or serious diseases that are rampant can be excluded from the United States. And so that's what the border authorities and the Trump administration used to keep people out, as well as the Remain in Mexico. If you did come in and you were vetted and you were eligible to go to court and get a green card, then you had to wait in Mexico. Well, Biden into that, and now he wants to end this Title 42, but the court said no. They said, no, sir, you can't do that. So he cannot lift that public health order that immigration officers have used to quickly expel migrants at the southwest border. And for my money, that's a good thing, because we're getting overwhelmed with these folks. We commit a lot of crimes too, Ken.
Well, if they shouldn't be allowed in. I mean,
No, I mean, you can't have
you
can't have a country if you don't control your borders.
Exactly. Where else in the world can you just walk into a country? Can you name me any place?
No, and
Well,
boy,
neither can I.
you try to get into Russia. I mean, you can't even go there on a visa to visit without jumping through hoops. And now China's a little bit more relaxed. You can get a traveler's visa that's good for 10 years. I think when we went to Russia, it was a 30-day visa. And boy, if you overstay it, they'll come and lock your butt up.
Well, even in China, even if you're North Korean, they will lock you up if you just walk in.
Yeah, oh yeah, you know, the immigration officers, the border patrol, they're right there on the North Korean-China border. And fortunately, they have the Yalu River, so you have to go really far northeast to get to a point on the Yalu where it's just a creek and you can wade across. But they catch you, you're toast. And they'll send you right back, and of course, Kim Jong-un will use you for dog food.
I hear Z is having some troubles over in China with a possible, they're talking about maybe a possible change at leadership.
In China?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was reading that just yesterday. There's people are saying there's maybe something going on there.
Maybe.
I kind of doubt it, but I would read. You can't tell what you read is true or not anymore.
I read the once or twice a week. I'll take a look at the official in English newspaper from the Communist Party in China, and I haven't seen anything that.
Well, that'll be the last place you see.
Indicate, yeah, that will probably be the last place. You know, they'll put the announcement in obituary on the last page.
That's right, exactly.
President Xi
Same with Pravda, you know,
unexpectedly died in a gulag in Siberia.
Yeah. But I've been reading little bits and pieces that he may be in some trouble.
He may be. He may be.
Yeah. I think there were a lot of that country, like the leadership anyway, was enjoying the free trade and all that we had going on, and they want to see it cut off like it has been with Russia because of Taiwan. So I think there's some talking going on there, some very serious talking about maybe some change is needed.
Well, and it's probably true. And you know, the economy is what has upended numerous emperors over the past millennium. In China, everything's going along fine, and then all of a sudden there's an economic downturn, and whoops, that emperor's gone.
Yeah.
He's on vacation.
You don't want a billion people upset with you.
No, and they'll go along with it as long as the economy is good, and they can get ice cream cones and live in heated apartments and that sort of thing, and get health care. But hard to say. But now with Joe. President Biden here, I was reading in one post that an audit shows nearly half of Biden's Twitter followers are bots. So he's ponied up his Twitter account to make it look like he's got more followers.
All right, did Elon come up with that?
No.
I don't know if that sale's going to go through now with Mr. Musk and Twitter.
It is or it isn't.
I don't. It's sounding more and more like it's not.
Wow. Well, this was a tool that was created by Spark Toro, and I guess it's a tool that can deep dive into websites and find out stuff. And I don't know, Elon Musk may have his hand in this. Who knows?
I think he does. There's so many of those out there apparently on Twitter. It's ridiculous. All of the figures are fraud. If that's true.
Well, a lot of businesses, you know, salesmanship. My son's in advertising, and I said, that's exactly the right place for you to be, because you have learned how to lie with aplomb. He said, Dad, it's not about the product, it's about the pumping it out there. He's good at it, though. He got himself a nice job, so good for him.
Madison Avenue is wonderful at selling. They really are.
It is. And so Joe's messing with us, and the courts are messing with Joe, and I guess the polls are going down. They're not happy with him. So what's going to happen? I think we're going to have a big shift in midterm unless something drastic comes up. I mean, if he gets us into a world war, then people generally freeze and stay with what they've got, which is not a good thing.
They usually rally around the president, whoever he is.
Yeah, whoever he is, and then they can push their domestic agenda as a secondary item. Meanwhile, back in Australia, the new premier He says he's going green, baby, and all the women are happy because he's telling them they're all wonderful, and he respects them and loves them, and he's going to fill his cabinet with half women, whereas the former prime minister only had one woman in his cabinet, and dissing the other ones out there in the hinterlands. We'll see how long the Liberals last in Australia, because they haven't been in for a decade or two now. Should be interesting to see if they have the same problems our Liberals are having. That once people see what they bought, they're like, wait a minute, this doesn't seem like such a good thing after all.
What kind of healthcare? What kind of healthcare do they have in Australia? I don't know. Is it like Canada?
No, it's a hybrid system. They have public and you can buy private insurance. I've had friends that worked over there, and they really enjoyed it. And we've had, and this has been a big debate within our medical community in the United States. We had night hawks, night readers, because it's daytime over there. The CT scans and the chest x-rays and all the studies that are done at night in the emergency rooms, in order to get a stat immediate reading, for a while we were different radiology companies, radiology groups were farming out that night work to radiologists in Australia. I think we've stopped that now. Most of the states now demand that you have a license, at least in the United States, in order to read. And I think in the state too. So all of the radiologists that read day and night at our facility, they're all licensed in Florida, plus in every other state that this company goes to, the management company that owns the radiology group. So you get readings from somebody who's living in Washington, D.C. or Chicago, Illinois, and they're part of the group here. It's interesting. The internet, dude, electronic.
Is it better? I mean, are they incompetent down there in Australia?
No, but there's just there's a lot of laws about who can practice medicine and who can't, and so it's a matter of licensing. So you have to be licensed in Florida or in Washington, D.C. or Illinois or wherever the studies are coming from. And so then at night, you have people that are awake. It's daytime for them, and they can read the studies. But they have to be licensed in Florida, and that's not an easy thing. First, you have to have reciprocity. That is, you have to be able to recognize their medical degree as being legitimate in our country. Now, we have that with Canada, but we don't have that with many other countries. I think with Great Britain we have that, but it's a process. It's a process. And so that India, we do not have that. And so a lot of the guys that come from India, they have to take the exam, and then they have to do a residency, even if they're already board and certified and trained in India in internal medicine or surgery or whatever. And I know doctors who come here who were OBGYNs or ear, nose, and throat doctors, and the only residencies they could get into at the time were general surgery or internal medicine, and so that's what they went into.
Well, I guess that's a good thing.
I'm sure that it's all part of our upscale healthcare system, and as long as we can afford it, that's great. But now we see increasingly a relative doctor shortage because young people coming out, they don't want to work the way the old boys did and the old girls did. And I don't know how that's going to pan out, but more and more treatments being farmed out to nurse practitioners and physician assistants. Oh, by the way,
it's becoming a real problem in some rural areas.
Yeah, and by the way, my sister right underneath me, she called me needing a prescription yesterday.
That's the only time you hear from her.
She's getting a little confused. She had psychiatric problems all of her life, and she needed one of her psych meds. And her nurse practitioner, according to her, and she may just be confused, refused to fill it. So, at any rate, I sent it in so that she doesn't have a psychotic break. And we talked a little bit, and she's getting older physiologically, not doing well. But we'll see. We'll see.
Well, you're a good brother. You're a good brother.
You got to take care of your blood. I mean,
absolutely.
You might want to kill them, but they haven't. They haven't made that
But as long
legal
as you
yet.
haven't, it's okay.
It's not legal yet, Ken. It's not legal. What are you going to do? Oh, my God. Just when you thought you were about home free, and then here they are again, knocking at the door. Hey, big brother, I need a handout. At any rate, that's okay.
No, brothers are great. Brothers, sisters they're actually pretty cool once you get older. Usually.
Usually. Oh,
I know I've
my.
had differences with my brother over the years, but lately, in the last few years, it's been pretty good.
Meanwhile, speaking of sisters, back in Afghanistan, the girls are risking their lives to go to school because after 6th grade, the Taliban says you can't go to school anymore, and they closed down all the girls' schools. So now they're all sneaking around to get an education. And I don't know what's going to happen there. The enlightened Taliban, who I guess the Biden administration thought would be able to take care of things over there for them, and left them in charge and withdrew in a very organized and neat fashion, as you'll recall. You remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Now, everything the Taliban said when they took over has pretty much turned out to be a lie.
That's a fact, Jack. That's a fact. And this is the thing here. We cannot turn our back on our responsibilities around the world. Unfortunately, like it or not, we are the policemen of the world. And if it wasn't for Great Britain and her children, the world would be a very, very dark place indeed. You'd be locked down in your townhouse or your condominium or your apartment with the COVID going around, and there'd be police outside ready to shoot you if you walked out. Oh, well, what are you going to do?
2.5 minutes, Doc.
What are you going to do, Ken? What are you going to do?
I'm going to stay right where I am in the good old United States of America.
Absolutely. We want to be healthy and happy. So we've talked about a little bit of everything this morning, but we haven't talked about Dr. Bill and what he has to offer.
Well, we got about 2 minutes left here. Doc wants to tell us what you got to offer.
We have,
and where they can get it.
you can come to my office at 6399 38th Avenue North in St. Petersburg, or you can do a telemedicine visit from anywhere in the United States, outlying territories, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands. I can take care of you and send prescriptions in and do everything right over the telemedicine visit. So you can call us, call the office at 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. We've got cancareclinic.com and bayareamedical.com, so you can get to our website. We're on Practice Fusion. Dang, dude, we're all over the place.
1.5 minutes, 1:30.
We've got, and you know, Ken, we've got the antiviral vaccine, the anti-COVID vaccine. We've got the rapid COVID testing.
Are people still coming in for those? I mean, is there still a calling for it, or is it settled down quite a bit?
It's settled down, but some people are still coming in and asking for it. And as I said earlier in the show, with the Deltacron, you better get your antibody levels up if this becomes a biggie. This is going to be important to have high antibody levels because it is not as sensitive to the native and the vaccine-mediated antibodies. So you got to think about that, Ken. That's muy importante. And I'm going to take a fifth shot here soon. You there, buddy?
Oh, yeah.
So,
fifth shot, really?
Yep.
Okay. And I got about 30 seconds to give you a phone number.
727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. We are your one-stop body shop. We do a little bit of everything. We've even got a fish market on the side there. So.
Very good, Doc. We got about 10 seconds here. I'll say goodbye to you, buddy.
I'll say goodbye, Ken.
Love you guys.
Thank you for listening to Dr. Bill, your radio MD. Join Dr. Bill every Sunday morning at 9 for more insight, information, provocation, and fun. Dr. Bill Handelman practices in St. Petersburg, Florida at Bay Area Medical Can Care Clinic, 6399 38th Avenue North. For your convenience, telemedicine appointments are available. Call his office today at 727-384-6411. That's 727-384-6411. Or visit his website at cancareclinic.com.